Hey everyone, this is Chris and Sandy Benton with the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I say on every episode, we had a great one for you. Who do we have?
We're excited to have singer-songwriter John Morgan with us today. He has recently had 8 songs cut by country superstar Jason Aldean, including his recent #1, Trouble with the Heartbreak, and the Grammy-nominated ACM Single of the Year, #1 smash hit with Carrie Underwood, If I Didn't Love You.
And we're excited to have him on. So welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Appreciate y'all having me.
So I always like to start the show out kind of same way. Last couple of years have been rough for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
So how has COVID affected you, and what have you done to kind of maneuver through this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've, like you said, everybody's kind of been affected by it in some way or another. But I guess for me and what I do in my writing side of things, I had to learn how to write over Zoom, write a song over Zoom, which was kind of a weird concept. But we figured out how to, get around that and basically, figure out. I guess the hardest part was figuring out whether somebody actually liked. What you were saying, or it's just hard to get that vibe and capture the song idea over a Zoom call. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it didn't. I've had a lot of good days and a lot of bad days over Zoom. It's something you got to roll with until it's done. And thankfully now most people are back to writing in person. So.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like for us, we launched the show January of 2020, so a couple months before COVID, and we were kind of had a plan of maybe 100 interviews first year, and then COVID happens, and I'm watching everything get shut down. I told Sandy, this might be our year to shine, and so we just reached out to everybody that year. And we did over 300 interviews first year, and we're almost 600 now.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's been a crazy journey, and we kind of owe COVID a little bit of that, because I don't think we would be where we are if it weren't for it.
Probably not.
Sure. That's awesome.
So a lot of people would ask, when did you know you wanted to do music? But I always like to go deeper than that. When did it click that this could be a career?
Well, honestly, not until probably 2 years ago. Music had always been a hobby of mine. I grew up playing bluegrass music as a young guy, and did that circuit for a long time. And then, honestly, I kind of gave up music for a minute. I think I remember there was a time period of about 2 years where I was just like, I'm done with it. That's a good run. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but I'm gonna try different things. And I just remember like that whole period of my life when I wasn't playing music, I just wasn't happy, and that really stuck with me. I remember I was, I bought a piece of property back home, and my dad and I were building a tiny house, and we were gonna put it on the property, and I was gonna live on it and everything. And I remember sitting up on the basically the frame of what we had started. We were hanging up the center beam, and it just hit me like, what am I doing? I'm not happy. I'm not, this isn't really what I dreamed of doing. I always had done music, and I knew that was about the only thing I was really good at, and so that really stuck with me, that moment. And so after that, I just pursued it 100%. I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, give it everything I got. And so that's kind of really what drove me to move to Nashville. And I had a friend who had moved about a year before me, and he's now my drummer.
Wow.
He's from the next county over from me back in North Carolina, and he just really encouraged me, like, man, you need to move down here and try writing and get back into music. Like, you're good at it, you need to try it. And so that really inspired me to take it seriously again. And then after, I got the phone call from Jason Aldean, and he told me, like, basically, I want to sign you. And that's really when I was like, wow, I can do this, and so that's really when it hit me that I could make it a career and make money doing it and stuff. So
Wow, I love that. A lot of people, they see the glory in what you do, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles it takes to build that career. And we always like to talk about that because I think it's sugar coated out there that, if you got a talent, you'll make it, but we both know that's not true. So take a few moments and just tell us a little bit about the sacrifices and struggles you've had to go through to get to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back to my bluegrass days, it's, I guess some of the biggest sacrifices was just really, when you're traveling and doing the bluegrass circuit, you're gone every weekend. You're home. I mean, I remember going to school Monday through Thursday and taking off early Friday and just heading out to Washington State. I mean, we played all over the place. But you were gone. Your childhood, normal childhood weekend things. I just, that wasn't what we did. We did music. We played and we had our own band, and that was our thing. That was our hobby. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that's a sacrifice, but that was one of the things that you accept as a kid. Like, you're just not going to get to do some of the normal things that a lot of people did, but in that same sense, I did get to play sports and I did all that stuff growing up. So I think that, is one. But now, with even just the short time that I've been, traveling and doing that with my stuff, it's just, you realize how important time is, and how valuable it is when you're home and when you're on the road. Utilizing your time is something that I've tried to. It's really just, I guess, clicked with me a little more that I need to take advantage of it. And so that's one thing when you're on the road every weekend. You're sacrificing time with your family. I mean, I've got a 4-month-old baby girl, and is definitely in the back of my mind. It's like, but thankfully it's all been great so far, and finally kind of gotten in a little routine and figuring it out. So it's just a lot, man. You sacrifice a lot of your personal space and your personal information. People want to know stuff about you. It's like, it's just part of the gig. You gotta accept it and take it for what it is. But just little things like that you're right. I mean, people don't typically think about stuff like that. And but those are just a few things I've experienced so far.
So have you had any fans go a little overboard yet?
Maybe one. Yeah. I won't mention any names though. It's not really. I definitely not like some of these guys have. I'm still kind of, I don't think I have that one fan yet, but I've come close.
Well, that was probably the benefit of starting out as a songwriter, because a lot of times songwriters are doing what they love, and fans don't really know who they are because the artist is one that gets. So you can have the best of both worlds. But now the game changer that you want to be an artist.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's why a lot of people, they see that when if they're a successful songwriter, they're like, man, I can still go out and play shows. Nobody knows who I am. They don't care to know who I am, So I definitely see the benefit of both sides of it. But
so tell us the story of how you got connected with Jason Aldean with the Uber and all that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically, when I was making trips down, to write with whoever I could write with in town, my friend Rob and we decided to go get some food one night. He was just kind of showing me around town. I was still hadn't officially moved there yet, but we went out to eat, and we called an Uber, and um, as we were going down the road, we just kind of started small talking with the guy, and he ended up telling us that he had a few Jason Aldean cuts back in the the
Oh
early
wow.
2000s. And so I was like, man, that's really cool. And he gave me his card, and I didn't really think anything about it, to be honest with you. We just kind of it was cool to hear and meet somebody like that. And um, about 8 months later, I had gotten a job at Lucky Brand, and was working in there one day, and a guy walked in, and I was like, man, I know this guy from somewhere. And I couldn't really figure out where I knew him from, so I went back up and talked to him. And once we started talking, we realized he was our Uber driver about 8 months before that had picked us up. And so we kind of rekindled that relationship. And at the time, I was working with another publishing company, just doing demos for free, and they were plugging me in on Rice with their people. And so I was kind of in the middle of that and figuring out how to build a demo. And he was like, well, just send me some stuff that you have right now, and I'd love to hear what you're doing. And so I did. And long story short, he had been writing with Jason's bandmates for several years, and he ended up sending some of my demos to them. And then we ended up getting a write booked with those guys over Zoom.
Wow.
It was one of those times. It was a good day, and we got a pretty cool song out of it. And I sang the demo for it. We got it all finished up, and they ended up sending it to Jason, and he was like, man, I love the song, but who's singing it? Who's singing the demo? So I guess it was a couple days after that. They had texted me, Tully, his bass player, had texted me, and he was like, can you do me a favor? Can you just like sit down in your room, set your phone up, and record just a raw live version of you singing the song we wrote the other day? And I didn't really know why. I was like, sure. I was just doing it. So I sat down and just did a one take thing and sent it back to him. Well, he ended up sending that to Jason along, with that demo. And I think it was maybe a day after that, I was outside cutting my grass, and I get a phone call, and it was a 615 area code. And I answered the phone, and he was like, hey man, this is Jason Aldean. I just got sent some of your stuff, and I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that I dig what you're writing. I think
Wow.
local voice, da 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 da. I just started a new company, and I'd love to make you an offer and try to work something out.
Wow.
And, so it was obviously, yeah, that's what I said. Wow. Like it was surreal to me too, especially then, man, because I didn't really have anything going at the time. It was just kind of, I was just grinding. I was writing as many songs as I could and trying to, whenever I wasn't working, I was working on a demo, and so that was definitely a life-changing phone call and experience altogether. So that's kind of how I got into that camp with those guys.
Wow. And that's something that just goes right into what we've interviewed a lot of people, and they all almost have the same story of where they're like, there's a couple things that what got them to the top, and one was, of course, very hard worked harder than they've ever have, but two was a little bit of luck, because a lot of people don't want to hear that there is some luck involved. But again, when you count the timing, the luck wouldn't have happened if you didn't work hard. But yet, when you work hard, that's when some of the little breaks start happening.
Yeah, well, I agree, man. There's definitely a little bit of luck involved in it, but I also believe in work ethic, and like you were saying, the harder you work, the more opportunities are going to present themselves, because when people in the industry are looking for new acts and new faces and new, fresh sounds to the industry, you gotta be able to do more than, smile pretty and be able to sing. There's a lot more that goes into it, and at least if you want that, next level artist, that's what you're after. And that's kind of how I've always approached it. Like, I've never, proclaimed to be the prodigy or any kind of, stuff like that, but I will outwork you. And I've always been that way. My dad was that way, and I learned it from him. So I come by honest, but that's just ingrained in me, and I'm proud of that, to be honest with you.
Like they say, outwork will always outlast talent that doesn't work.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have that work ethic, especially again, there's so many people that are trying to do what you do. If you don't have a work ethic, you ain't got a shot.
Right. No, you said it. You said it exactly. That's and it's like that with any industry, man. Like, if you're trying to be a, whatever, it doesn't matter. You still, that concept, can be used in any scenario for any job title or anything. You got to be able to want to put the work into it. And, somebody said it best to me the other day. It's like, if I was to tell a new guy moving to town, like, some advice, it's don't move to Nashville expecting to find out what you want to do. Know what you want to do, figure it out, then move to town. If you want to be a session musician, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be an artist, like, obviously it can change once you get there, to an extent, but figure out what it is you want to do, hone in on that, and try to perfect your way of doing it, because that's all it is. There's so many good songwriters in town, but they all have a different way of putting things. They all have they have their own twist of how they say something. And that's kind of what sets them apart, So.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine years ago when we interviewed him, he was telling us that if you want to be an artist, because of course, if you want to be a songwriter, you need to be in Nashville. But if you want to be an artist, he was talking about, he says, there's so many people on every corner in Nashville that you will be intimidated. He says, if you want to be an artist, build a local and then regional base and then move to Nashville. Because that way, when you get to Nashville, even if there's some intimidation from you, you'll still have your base to keep you going while you try to build.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. It is intimidating. There's always, especially in this town, there's always somebody waiting right behind you for you to step up. No, they're going to step right into the spotlight and be the next thing, and that's part of why it's so motivating to live here, because you're like, man, you see these new guys just, they're working hard and they're leveling up, and that motivates you. If you're that kind of person, that should motivate you to step it up too. So, it's a very interesting industry, but I enjoy it.
So tell us about your song "Good with Goodbye."
Yeah, "Good with Goodbye" is funny. We were talking about Zoom earlier. That this is one of those songs that we did write over Zoom as well, and the song to me, it's pretty self-explanatory when you listen to it, but to me, it's talking about, trying to get over somebody, or trying to move on from somebody, and being heartbroken, hurt about it, and trying a bunch of different things to try to cope with that, and realizing that none of them actually work. They may get you by for a minute, but nothing goes good with goodbye. And that's we just pulled from personal experiences on that, and tried to write what we thought the listener would want to hear and could relate to. And that's been it's always been one of the songs that I just kept going back to when we would re-listen for, to go in and cut songs for my project. It was like, that was one that everybody always talked about and always mentioned. And, I try to take signs like that. And, at first, what really held me back originally was the demo. It wasn't necessarily my vibe, and it's just a demo, but for some reason, I was like, man, I can't even listen to the demo. Not that it was produced great, but it just wasn't my vibe. And when I listened to it with ears of, putting it out myself, I'm like, man, I just don't know if it would work with what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I kind of listened to better judgment, and people just, I think, really saw through that and believed in the song. And then on the production side of things, we just kind of approached it way differently than the demo when we went in to cut it. And that was a game changer for me. And those guys are really good at what they do. And they also were really cool about letting me have a pretty big say in, what direction to go sound wise. So
always
that
good.
That was really cool part of it. But yeah, I'm excited to finally have it out.
Love that. A lot of people, they see you, but they don't see the team behind you. And in our opinion, the teams never get the love they deserve. But on our show, they get some love. So take a few moments and just tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people involved in what I do now, which is, you never really think about that when you're new to town and you're like, I'm just going to play shows and this and that. There's way more that goes on behind the scenes than that. But yeah, there's a lot of people I can thank for helping me get to where I am now. Obviously my parents have always been huge supporters of me doing music, and they've seen me in some like broke situations,
Wow.
And still supported me and believed in what I was doing. Beyond that, there's pretty much everybody at the label here, even at BMG. Like, there's so many people that do things on a daily basis and keep the ball rolling and are promoting my stuff. Quinn, I'm not gonna kiss her butt because she's here, but she does a lot. And just there's a lot of people as well that just they continually work on this. My management team, so many different parts of this wheel that is always doing something for me. And that ultimately, that's just there's no greater appreciation to me than to realize that people want to invest in time into my career, because they don't have to at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So that's a huge thing for me. I'm very grateful for that and everybody that is a part of it. So,
speaking of teams, we have a third co-host, which of course my other co-host had to go with my daughter right now, so she's not here. But our third co-host, little Chris, our 10-year-old, likes to always ask a few questions. So hopefully Sandy's hearing this and sending him in here, but he'll be here in a minute.
Awesome.
And while we're waiting, what's kind of next for you?
Well, at the moment we've been in the studios rehearsing for this upcoming tour this summer. We're going to be out with Jason Aldean. Our first tour date is this coming weekend in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So we're pretty fired up to get up there and play our first full band show for those folks up there. And that's kind of the most immediate thing is just getting rolling on this tour, and very honored to be a part of it. So,
hi, John Morgan. So, what's your favorite food?
What's up, man? That's a good question. That's a question I haven't been asked today, so I appreciate that. I'm a pretty big pizza guy. I like pizza. I also like tacos. I could eat probably every day. Those are like my two go-tos. If I'm in a crunch time situation and I need food quick, I'm either getting tacos or pizza.
Because what's yours?
My favorite food's pizza.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I am.
I knew I liked you.
All right, so what's your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is probably The Office.
Mm.
I watch The Office every night when I go to bed, and it's what puts me to sleep.
What's yours?
Mine is SpongeBob.
SpongeBob, nice. Man, that used to be one of my favorite shows. I haven't watched it forever.
And they still got new ones coming out.
That's crazy.
That's
Okay, so what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is probably Lawless with Shia LaBeouf. It's always been one of my favorites.
Love that.
What about you?
Mine is Minions.
Minions? Dude, I love
And we
it.
just got to see in the theaters the Minions too.
Dude, how was it? Dude, was it cool?
It was pretty good. Yes.
Yeah. Good
Seeing the rise of Gru. But they were really smart. They built this brand that everybody loved, and I don't know if they always had an idea to go back one day to the story of his beginning, but if they didn't, it was really smart to then go forward but go back.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Bye, buddy. Good to meet you.
Huh. Yeah, he's been on almost every show. We try to keep it a family affair.
I like it. He's a good host.
So if you could co-write with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Well, probably the top of my list would be Keith Whitley. I would love to write a song with him. I was telling, I might have been Quinn earlier, like he can just, he knew how to write a country song and rip your heart out without you even knowing it. Like that's just, it's always been intrigued me, his style of writing, which, it was a lot of personal stuff and it was real to him. But, I would love to sit down in a room and write with him. But
that's awesome. So yeah. Where would you like to be in 5 years?
Well, I hope in 5 years that I would love to be headlining my own tour, or at least opening, direct support for somebody. I don't know, that's I guess on the artist side of things, but I would love to. On the writer side of things, I would love to have multiple cuts on some outside artists. That's kind of my intermediate goal right now, is just to try to keep writing songs for, and trying to pitch them to different artists and get some cuts going here and there, and keep the ball rolling. I've been blessed to be able to get some holds, so I'm hopeful. But awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to think about 5 years from now, which seems like a long time, but it'll be here before we know it.
So let's look even further down. Let's say that 15 years down the road, you're a success on a grand scale, whatever that looks like for you. You're there. What do you hope you never forget on your way?
Well, there's a lot of things I hope I never forget. I hope I never, for one, never forget just what we were talking about earlier, the people that got me here, the people that believed in me from day one, because those are the people that are going to be with you there, whether you're successful or not. They're going to be there with you till the end. And, I definitely, I'm not wired to, well, I hope I'm not wired to forget those people. I really, I've always been that way, man. If somebody believes in me, I try to return the favor. And, it's easy to do sometimes if you get caught up in yourself. And that's one thing about this industry is, you gotta remember that, like, it's just, there's people out there who don't always have it as good as you do. And, when you got people telling you how great you are every day and asking you questions about all the success, it's like you can get lost in that sometimes and forget there's people out in the world that don't have it as good as you.
Yeah.
So I hope in, 10, 15 years from now, I'll be able to help those kind of people in some way or shape or form. I've got a lot of ideas for, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of my goal for long term.
I love that because I'm trying to honor our time together. I'll end with this. What legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to be ultimately known for?
Well, yeah, that's the question of the day, huh? Um, no, I tell you what, man. I just hope that people will realize that, from watching, whatever my career ends up being, I hope that people get out of it that, being good to people and treating people with respect is something that goes a long way.
Yeah.
I feel like when you move to this town, I had a lot of people give me the advice of, just be yourself, be a good hang, work hard, and respect people. Respect their time, respect, whatever they're doing. If they're doing something to help you out and you didn't ask them to do it, tell them thank you. Stuff like that. It's easy to do, but it's also easy to forget, and, that's just, I hope that people will just remember those parts about me. Obviously, it'd be cool to kind of have the music side of things, but beyond that, I hope that people, realize that, it goes further than that. It goes deeper than that. So, yeah.
I love that. So tell everybody how they can find you.
Well, if you go on social media, any platform, I've got an Instagram, I've got Twitter, I've got TikTok, I've got Facebook, I've got pretty much everything except for pretty much everything. Yeah, my Facebook is johnmorganmusic.com. My Instagram is johnmorgan95. So a little more specific if you are on those platforms. But yeah, you should be able to find me pretty much anywhere.
Love that. We really enjoyed having you today, and we look forward to having you back down the road.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate your time, man. I look forward to doing it again too.
It's our pleasure. You have a great day.
All right, you too, man.
Okay, the record.